Hello again, welcome back. This is Aluminum Tarot. Thanks so much for joining today. We are going to now be reading for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This will be a timeless reading. I'm not going to make a specific time frame like now until the month, the end of the month or until a month's time afterwards. Whenever you see this message, that's when you're meant to hear it. We'll just leave it at that, so that way it's a bit more simple, as timing is quite difficult to suss out whenever you're reading the cards. But anyways, order of the day is this. Firstly, I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you to reaching 300 subscribers. Hopefully that continues. If not, we'll just roll with it. But it's been 3 years, 300 subscribers. It's been on and off quite a bit due to the fact that I've had so many upheavals with Uranus transiting Taurus in my sixth house, which is the house of work, which completely cocked up all any and everything that I knew about stability and such. But we survived it, and we're grateful to be in this place to still continue doing readings for you. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. Additionally, if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so you don't miss any updates, and support the channel as you can and how you see fit. So let's go ahead. We'll dig right into what's taking place here. I have chosen 2 decks. The first one here is going to be the Wild Unknown Tarot, which is an excellent deck to read. And then also its counterpart, which is the Archetypes deck, which has a list of different type of archetypes that you can use to complement the reading, or at least to lead it, to understand the overall energies and things of that nature. It's very, very beautiful, interesting artwork, as you'll see in the first card that you have here, which is the Shapeshifter. So when we have shapeshifters, we talk about people who kind of take the form of whatever it is that they need at the time in order to perform a specific function. So I'm going to read from the book so that way you understand clearly what it is that, the meaning is behind these cards. And additionally, it just helps me to learn as well. The shapeshifter has a love of theater, games, and trickery. His energy appears as one thing, only to reveal a more complex story behind the surface. The shapeshifter is within all of us to some degree. It is the side of ourselves that is slippery, non-committal, and experimental, and longs to dismiss the rules. We need its energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. When the Shapeshifter card appears, it's time to imagine you are looking at life through a kaleidoscope rather than a single focus lens. At any moment, the scene may shift, revealing a more enchanting vision other than you imagine. Be wary, though, as the allure of the kaleidoscope can leave you exhausted and yearning for solid ground. Dancing long-term with the shapeshifter requires a central pillar of integrity that links us back to our center. So it's about being vibrant, adaptive, humorous, but it can also be about a person who's very much a trickster, someone who lies, deceives, and does things for their own means by using kind of what we call mirroring techniques. And a person who is afflicted with borderline personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder, they mirror another person so that way they can kind of reel them in to manipulate them and get what they need. That said, we're going to go into this part of the reading, and we'll try to talk a little bit about what this tells us about your reading itself. Now, if you are dealing with a situation in which you have felt that you needed to put on multiple masks in order to get certain things out of people, you'll now be facing that, and you'll actually be looking into what kind of mask you put on in order to get what you need from others, to trick or deceive others, or for others to trick and deceive you. So this is all about authenticity in this reading, I would say. Because when we have the shapeshifter, it tells us of the kind of life that we've been living. Have we just been kind of rolling with it and putting on a brave face and trying to look one way but actually feeling another? or to fill a void, or to do other things which may or may not be conducive to you. Shapeshifter is now asking you to, while it's okay to be a social butterfly, or it's okay to kind of put on a happy face, whatever's underneath all of that is going to be your true self. Now, when you look at this photo here, you see someone here. There's a bit of a tiger, but then there's also, it looks like a person who's like a clown or a guy with corpse paint on. It's kind of metal there. I listen to a lot of Scandinavian black metal, which is pretty interesting. And I really like some of the corpse paint designs that they had way back in the day, which were fun to look at because it was kind of like evil clowns. I don't know what to say about it. Anyways, but that shapeshifter, that's kind of what we're seeing. I'm almost getting like Rorschach vibes. The guy from Watchmen with the face that kept looking like a massive ink blot. Anyways, when we see this, our first cards that we look into are these here. So this is the Two of Swords in the reverse, and this is clarified by the Six of Pentacles. So when we have the Two of Swords, that can typically tell us about a time in which we make a firm decision to potentially give to something. I'm going to clarify this with another card. Clarify, please. Okay. So, King of Cups in the reverse. I'm getting a person who just wants to give just enough to kind of get through the day. Not to necessarily say that you're a shallow person, but you prefer to keep things on the shallow end. Like the song that's coming into my head is Blue from A Perfect Circle. So there's a song in that album, 13th Step, where he says, best to keep things in the shallow end because I never acquired how to swim. I close my eyes, ignore the smoke, ignore the smoke, ignore the smoke. And so I'm hearing that song playing in my head right now, which is one of my favorite groups. They're an amazing group. Manu James Keenan, of course, is a great songwriter. James Ear at the time. Josh Free, of course, Devo. I'm not going to get too far into that. But let's focus. Two of Swords in the reverse is feeling completely closed off. It's not about getting in touch with your intuition like mini high priestess energy. It's more like doing your best to try to shut things out, or even if you need to, finally end the period of searching and come to a strict, solid conclusion. However, what we have here, we've got the Six of Pentacles and the King of Cups in the reverse. It's like I'm giving and receiving, but I'm not giving and receiving from a place where I can actually feel with my heart that things are going in the right direction, or that I am connecting with someone else, or that I'm in an emotionally mature space. The King of Cups in the reverse is actually an emotional manipulator, which is a person who tries to get things, get people to do stuff for them or to them, like a quintessential person who's like a player, and they go and they sleep around, or they deal with people on a very shallow, superficial level because they don't want to connect with others. They may have had their heart broken in the past, or they have a very how would you say, a very cynical outlook on life. And that can affect their ability to connect with other people, or maybe a person who's gone through so much trauma that they haven't processed yet, that it ends up eating them from the inside out. So that's what I'm seeing in all of this. Six of Pentacles is normally the Three of Pentacles, working with other people, but in a pair. So it gives me the energy of like the connections that you get, the people that you work with, you use I'm getting the expression that you use them to numb the pain. And whatever pain that is in your life, you would know that. I'm not really going to be here as someone's not going to be a psychotherapist, someone I don't even know. I mean, you're watching this channel, whoever, all of the people who do watch this specific reading will essentially know how this relates to you, if it does, if it is your story as well. But that's what I'm getting from that recent past energy. I feel a person who's just burnt out emotionally and is numbing the pain in order to circumvent the trauma that is associated with that. And that's not really a great place to be in. I would say that is really up to you to choose the path that you're going to walk, even if you've gone through a lot of trauma-based situations in the past, where you've experienced abuse in the past, you've had failed relationships in the past, you've had all this other stuff. The King of Cups in the reverse especially, can also be a person who, I know Tyler's Tarot refers to him as the person who drinks a lot. Knight of Cups or King of Cups in the reverse. And the person who drinks a lot, of course, is on the piss all the time. On the piss all the time. And that is also not a place to be in, because it is to drown out your sorrows with this magical elixir known as booze, which doesn't really help. Moving into the present, we have some pretty rough looking cards here. This is the energy that is taking place for you now, which is the Five of Swords in the reverse, but clarified by the Knight of Swords. So it's the same energy, wanting to get out of this space of inner conflict. This is also quite indicative of your own energy, being swords. When you have a lot of inner turmoil and inner conflict, it's easy to want to find a solution out of it, but in doing so, it forces you to confront your shadow self. And if you are unwilling to do that, that can create a lot of extreme anxiety, which then fuels the desire to go back in and drink or to drown your sorrows in other stuff, whether that is sex, drugs of any kind. Ignorance can also be a bit of a coping mechanism or strategy. And additionally, negative emotions. And science shows, psychological studies have shown, or neuropsychologists show, you can become addicted to trauma. Many people who are depressed are just addicted to trauma in many ways. The only solution for that is to understand what's wrong and to then try to go within and try to learn how best to digest, then release the source or the cause of those negative emotions. Because the last thing you want to do is to stay in a constant boot loop cycle of feeling down, feeling hurt, depressed, and all that, going to drink, and then coming back around, feeling sorry and guilty and all that stuff, and then going to drink or going to, guzzle some gonads, as you would say, and in some of today's sexual marketplace, or feeling sorry about yourself, oh woe is me, pity party type energy. The reason why I say that is because when I was shuffling the cards, this was at the bottom, and this is the Five of Pentacles, which is that woe is me energy. It's similar to the Five of Cups. That can be a rough place that you put yourself into. It's not necessarily reflective of the truth of your situation, but it is how you feel internally. Fives are typically the card of change. when you have this Five of Swords, and then you have at the bottom of the deck, you have the Five of Pentacles. This is all about changing in your circumstances, mentally and physically. The swords being that of the mind, and the pentacles being that of the physical self. Because we look into this, we come to the next set of cards, which are then going to tell you a bit more about this, which are the Lovers in the reverse. You have the Seven of Cups in the reverse, and then you have the Knight of Swords. So looking at this, it tells me that you're going to just detach completely from whatever it is that is causing you this pain. Rather than facing that pain and transmuting it, it's like a running away or an attacking of it in a way that you feel is going to resolve it in the quickest manner possible. And this is not necessarily going to benefit you long term. It is important that you attack it at the right angle, because that's precisely what I see. You have the Lovers right here in the reverse, Seven of Cups in the reverse. This is a strong decision to let go of the things that you are attaching to separate from your head and heart. And then you have that sword from the Knight of Swords coming down in there to deal a final death blow to your object of attachment and affection, which I give my Aquarian friends so many warnings. And I say this out of love because, according to the whole signs, I have a lot of Aquarian energy. I have Uranus in the first house. And then I also have a huge stellium of very destructive planets in the 11th house. So that's Mars, Saturn, and Pluto. And then my MC, which is also included there as well. So as a honorary Aquarian, I completely understand what your situation is and what you're going through to a degree. However, there is always the choice of staying within the current mental energy that is, pervasive throughout all of this, because you have swords in all of the different readings here. You have in the past, you have the Two of Swords, present, Five of Swords, and the Nine of Swords. 5 plus 9 equals 14. 1 plus 4 is 5, taking you right back into that loop that keeps bringing you back to this. You want to let go, but then the fears and anxieties come up. You go to do this escapist kind of thing, bring you right back to the Five of Swords in the reverse, which then creates an anxiety and it puts you on that death spiral. So the outcome basically with this Queen of Swords in the reverse, and then Three of Pentacles in the reverse, and then this Wheel of Fortune in the reverse, you just run the risk of being so stuck that it feels like your associations are basically just transactional rather than emotional. Like if this were the Three of Cups, I would say, yeah, you'd go out, you'd have a lot of fun, you'd party, use your friends as support base. But what I see here is a Three of Pentacles in the reverse. That can lead to refusing to want to work or cooperate with anyone, shutting yourself down, that kind of nature, because you have three pentagrams here, not pentacles. When you see that, that is basically a whole, it's kind of like a trinity of the word Klipov is coming into my mind because, when you look at the Sephiroth, you have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit recognized by the first, second, and third houses of the Kabbalah tree of life. But when you look at this, you have these three pentagrams. It almost reminds me of the Klipov, which is kind of like the descent into the shadow realm, which is where you have to go in and face those fears and challenges and those really shady realms of the cosmos and of universal existence, you don't want to go to that place. That's the image that I'm getting in my mind. If you want to learn more about Klipov and stuff like that, Michael Ford, I suppose, will be a really good example of that. Esoterica is also an excellent teacher of anything kind of Jewish mysticism. Actually, probably one of the best sources, if not the best, on the internet. So in saying that, then you move to the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. This is a Sagittarius card, and one of the problems with Sagittarius can be like feeling aimless or rudderless. So with the Wheel of Fortune, things are not moving, you're not wanting to budge, and you're sat in your negative emotions with the Queen of Swords in the reverse. So it's borderline psychotic, the kind of situation you can put yourself into. It's a very dark place. And for the Aquarian that I'm speaking to, and I have spoken to you before, this doesn't look like an easy way out. I'll pull some cards of advice just to try to see if there's a kind of way we can resolve this. I try to be proactive in this channel. If I find that there's a reading that has really shitty negative energy, and this one does, what I'll try to do is pull some cards of advice to at least give some guidance as to how to get out of this. How can Aquarius get out of this situation? What is your card of advice? What is your advice? What is the advice? Okay, so Aquarius, for you, your advice are the following. Your advice cards are the following. So you have the Page of Wands in the reverse. Now, as a card of advice, it means that you don't want to lose sight of the things that you find passionate about. Being able to start the journey towards something that will be truly beneficial, because that's what the Page of Wands does. It's about understanding the spark within you that you have lost along the way because you've been in so many different identities throughout the course of this escape from the reality that you find yourself in, that it's almost overwhelming. So in order for you to resolve that, you have to get back into a space where you are actively searching and seeking for a way to move forward, to pursue something that you feel passionate about, and to leave behind the familiar territory. The second card, you have the Eight of Swords in the reverse. Get out of your fucking head. Just get out of your fucking head. Go touch grass somewhere. If you're the type of person that drinks, get out of the bottle or the glass and touch grass somewhere. Do something for yourself, which leads to positive results. If you're in the gym, great. If you are, exercising some kind of painting or some kind of new talent, skill, hobby, things like that, delve into that and let it become an extension of yourself so that you're no longer thinking about the what ifs, the should have, could haves, and all that other shit that the Eight of Swords typically tells us about. So the Eight of Swords in this one has, a chrysalis. This is the thing we talk about with the butterfly. And this butterfly is trying to emerge. And here it almost looks like they're shaking the swords out. However, in the reverse, you could be coming out of that, or at least you want to come out of that. But understand that the methods that you take in order to do that could lead to more disruptions. Now, finally, with the Page of Pentacles, that goes along with the Page of Wands. you have to see tangible results in the things that you want to do to turn your life around. And that will, in fact, involve the process of learning. So if you feel that you want to learn independently, that's fine. But if you're in this current situation, it's recommended that you take the advice of someone external to you who can be more logical and detached and rational, even than you as an Aquarius. Because being a fixed sign, including, me, I am also, along with that Aquarian energy that I explained to you before, I'm also a Taurus sun, and that can make me feel stubborn with certain things as well. Once I make a decision, I don't back down and I just say, you know what, fuck it. It's going to be this way from this point out. But it takes me a bit of time to actually reach that conclusion. You are going to need to be open and receptive to new ways of doing things that will allow you to take the first steps towards healing this broken self. And with this shapeshifter here, it's like there's no core. There's no core, there's no sense of self. It's just all about moving to the next form. So that way you can feel included in a circle of friends. You can, get what you want. You can get laid. You can, you can get discounts on things. I don't know, whatever it is that you're using the shape-shifting energy for. Or if you study how chameleons operate and the reason why they are chameleons, that is also due to trauma. It's learning the process as a very young child as to how I can best manipulate the circumstances and become what I need to become at that time so that I can escape the pain and torture and anguish of my circumstances, because that comes from a place in which you're a child and you have much less power than an adult, but you carry those responses and those trauma responses into your adulthood, where then your brain fuses, your prefrontal cortex fuses and fully develops, and then you carry that attitude with you at a subconscious level or at a conscious level, because that's all you know. So I'm going to leave it there. It's nearly 27, 28 minutes. I don't want to bore you too much with all that psychobabble talk, but thank you very much, Aquarius. I wish you the best. And really consider what this means, because whichever Aquarius I'm speaking to at the moment is going through it. Not just going through it, but there is no light at the end of the tunnel for this particular Aquarius. And it's only going to need just a change in perspective and ideas. I don't even see the hangman, which would allow you to do that in this reading. All I say is I wish you the best of luck. This is a very dark place, and I'm not really going to sugarcoat my words on that. Aquarius, for a long time throughout my readings, has been suffering in the prison of their own mind. And I think that by recognizing that, you can find a way to break yourself out of jail, out of prison. Give yourself the opportunity to look for that key, which is going to unlock you from your confinement. Thank you so much. Until next time, love and light.